Kia ora everybody, I'm Ash and welcome to another video. In today's video it's another story time and we're going to talk about my paranormal experiences. So let's get into the video. So grab your cup of coffee and get comfy. I'm not someone who necessarily believes in ghosts. Oh, my camera is going weird. So I'm not someone who necessarily believes in ghosts or paranormal things. I find that stuff really interesting, but I also need, like, I guess scientific evidence or more proof or something. But that's not to say that like weird paranormal things haven't happened to me, because there has been a few things or times in my life where I've had odd feelings, and I guess you could say I have high levels of empathy, things like that. So let's talk a bit about them today. I also like to think of ghosts as like leftover energy, so not necessarily what the traditional type of ghost is, so not necessarily the person still there. I hope that makes sense. I also wrote a blog post on this. I'll link it down below about my previous like paranormal experiences, and I haven't told everyone about all of these, so hopefully you enjoy. My very first paranormal experience happened a while ago. So back in 2019, a family friend of mine unfortunately passed away quite suddenly in a car crash, and it was pretty awful. And then one day, maybe like a few months later or something like that, I was home alone and I was still living in New Zealand in my mum's kitchen at the time. And my mum and this person were very, very good friends. And all of a sudden, I'm just like minding my own business. I can't even remember what I'm doing in the kitchen, but there's a bowl that's up on a top shelf and it comes down and just starts spinning and then like bounces on the ground. And I was like, maybe there was an earthquake. It is Christchurch after all. And I'm like, surely there was an earthquake. And I was just trying to figure out how to explain it. And I looked up on GeoNet if there was an earthquake then. Absolutely no earthquakes. And then I looked to see if anything was like loose on the shelf or if there was any way I could explain it. And there just wasn't. And so I was like, oh. And then I told mum what happened, and I made a joke that it was this family friend, and she was like, oh, it absolutely was. So that freaked me out a little bit. And then I kind of forgot about that, and nothing really happened for a long time until I moved to Melbourne. So let's get into those experiences. So the second experience didn't really happen until this year. And it wasn't in Melbourne particularly, but it was in Tanunda in South Australia. So in winter this year, my partner Luke and I, we went on a trip there, and it's like the Barossa Valley area of South Australia. It's really beautiful. And we were staying in Tanunda, and in Tanunda there's this like main road that's basically the whole town, and there's heaps and heaps of cemeteries in this place. And normally when I go to a cemetery, I feel really calm and at peace, and I feel like people have passed over and have lived their lives. But the cemetery was different. I can't remember which one it was. There's like heaps there. There's like trees, this really beautiful walkway, and it was a really gorgeous cemetery. And I started walking through the cemetery, and Luke's just reading something on a board at the cemetery. And I start getting this like choking feeling, like I'm being choked. And I'm like thinking like maybe it's anxiety or something like that, but I don't think it was. And it just kept getting worse as I walked through. And I said to Luke, my partner, I was like, something bad happened here, or maybe they were bad people or something like that. And he was like, some of the people buried here had been through like a lot of hard times, like they were hated for who they were, what their religion was, and things like that. And I just like genuinely didn't know that. And I was like to Luke, I was like, I did not know that. I haven't looked up anything about this place, didn't know like anything about it really. And then as we walked out of the cemetery, the feeling just went away. And I just haven't been able to explain that at all, like ever, and it just freaked me out, and it still freaks me out now. For a bit more context, the people buried in this particular cemetery had come to Australia for religious freedom and the right to exercise that. However, they were hated and they were punished for that, and I don't know if they had turned to crime or if other people had tortured them or things like that, or just harassed them. And I think that's the leftover energy that I was feeling. So my third paranormal experience was actually in Melbourne. So it was at Altona North Beach, and this one was weird. Like, I don't know if this one was in my head or if this one was absolutely real. I have spoken to a few people about this one, and they have also reassured me that this is probably not in my head and probably how I felt at the time. So it was kind of around the dog beach at Altona North, and it was one Sunday afternoon, I think, and we were just going for a walk there. It was kind of muggy as well, so the darkness might have been contributed to why I was feeling that way. And I was like, I like to play Pokemon Go on my phone, so I opened that and I had this weird feeling of like, don't use technology here. And so I put my phone back in my pocket and didn't play Pokemon, because I was like, that's a weird feeling, right? So I tried to like shake that off and just keep walking. And then I think we actually saw some pelicans fly over, which was pretty cool. And so I started to feel a little bit better at this point. And then we kept walking, and I just couldn't shake this feeling. And then suddenly when we got off the beach onto like the walkway area, I started to feel something like pushing on my back of like, get out of here, get out of here. And it just felt so overwhelmingly like I was being touched by someone, but there was no one there, and it was so weird. I also wanted to know if anything bad had happened there, because I was like, this is a weird feeling. And I think Luke was okay, but then my feelings might have rubbed off on him a little bit. And we decided to look up if there was anything bad that had happened in Altona North. And it turns out there has been a lot, and a lot of people unsubscribing from life. And it was just like awful to read about, and all these other things. And then Luke's like, oh, by the way, they do the ghost tours around here. And I'm like, oh, okay. And yeah, it was just a really, really weird feeling. And it was either like someone doesn't want me here, or there's really, really bad energy here. I've also been back there since and haven't had the same weird feeling. So I'm not sure if that particular entity or energy has left, or if it was again in my head because I want to rationalize it and figure out what it actually was, or if maybe they are now comfortable with me or anything like that. After these things started happening to me, I did talk to friends about a few of them, and one particular friend who I didn't think would believe in like ghosts or paranormal things or anything like that was like, no, they're absolutely real. And they were working in hospitality at the time at this bar, and I won't say where it was, and they would work like late into the night and late shifts because it was a bar sort of thing. And they were absolutely convinced that they saw a ghost, especially because there would be things that would fly off shelves when it was impossible because they'd been latched down. And then they also mentioned to another co-worker of theirs about their experiences, and that co-worker confirmed, oh yeah, this place is totally haunted. So I just find that really interesting. Another friend of mine said they used to live next to a house that was haunted, where someone had unsubscribed from life, unfortunately, and that this was a particular woman who had done so, and she had done it in the bathroom of this house. And then either the house got rented out or sold on to like another family after this had happened. And I believe that there is a law that you have to say what has happened in that house. Like if someone's passed away in it, you have to tell that to the new owners or the people renting it or something like that. I don't know specifics, but apparently that is a law, and it was never told to the next people who lived in this house. and they had like little kids who started telling their parents that they were seeing a woman in the bathroom. And often children are more susceptible to seeing things like this, or they might have imaginary friends, or they might make things up or something. But children can be quite intuitive and know a lot more than we think they know. And then the house got new owners again, and there were children, and the same thing just kept happening, and the children would be like, who's that woman in the bathroom? And it's just so weird because no one was ever told about this particular event that occurred in this house, and I just find that so fascinating. There were also a few when I was little back in Christchurch that I can probably debunk them, but they could also be false memories, so bear with me a little bit here. I think the first one I can definitely debunk, but at my primary school there was always like little kids saying, oh, we can see ghosts, and I remember one day being like, oh, come into the bathroom. And so I did, and then there were like eyeballs in one of the girls' toilets, and it was just like, it's probably fake and my friends are just trying to scare me. But it could have been real, and I think that stuck with me for a very long time. Yeah, that one was really weird. Or a prank. And the last one was when I was at a holiday program when I was like maybe 10 or 11 years old back in Christchurch, and I have tried to debunk this one myself because this one could have been a false memory or a dream. But basically what it was is we went to this like army style base camp, I guess. I can't quite remember what it was or even if it was real. I asked my mum, she has no idea. I asked people as an adult who were on this holiday program, they also have no idea. So at the moment, probably a dream, but it's interesting. And I remember we got onto this lift, and in the lift were like cartoon ghosts. It was like an aberration of a cartoon ghost, like Casper style. But I remember it being quite freaky and uncanny valley, and I just remember being so scared. And this place could have been like somewhere like Taylor's Mistake, but I don't remember there being lifts there. And I just remember going in with a person called Debbie, and I think my mum was on this trip as well, and just being so scared of these ghost things, and then telling the leaders that I was scared, and them kind of like, I don't want to use gaslighting, but it was a bit like, why are you being scared? And I was like, I'm a little kid. But yeah, maybe it is a false memory, maybe it is a dream, I don't know, but it's weird. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this story time and learning about these random paranormal experiences, or if they are paranormal experiences or not. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye!